Hello everyone and welcome back. So today we are going to learn how to create this basic calculator with React. And as you can see, really clean. If I do 10 plus 9, it's going to be 19. Okay. If I click this C, it's going to be reset the value. If I say 5 and then click this plus minus, we get this plus minus. And also if I click this percent, we get the 0.09. All right. If I do 4 divided by 8 is going to be 0.5. all right. If I say 7 times by 2 is going to be 14. If I say 5 minus 7 is going to be minus 2. all right, this is working. If I say let's say 2.5 plus 9.5, okay, we get 12. all right, so this work. And if I say lot of number here, and as you can see, the value is going to be small, and yeah, that's pretty cool. That's what we're going to be building, guys. And yeah, let's get started. All right, so in here we have create React app, and now we just have app.js and index.js. all right, so now we need to create another component inside the source. So I'm going to say components folder, and inside this components folder I'm going to create wrapper.js file. Okay, so now we are going to create functional pass component in here, and I'm going to grab the, let's say, children, and also I'm going to put the children inside this div here. Okay, so let's say children, and also in here I'm going to add class name called, let's say, wrapper. Okay, and also we need to put the wrapper in here. So let's say wrapper, and we need to wrap our app calculator inside this wrapper here, like that. Okay, so next let's styling this wrapper here, but make sure you import the index.css in here so you can styling the wrapper with this class inside the index.css. okay, so we need to remove everything here, and I'm going to reset the margin and padding first. So let's say margin 0, let's say padding 0, and also the box sizing, let's say per box. And also I'm gonna use the Roboto font come from Google font. I'm going to use the regular here, so let's click select this style, and I'm going to use this import. So let's copy this and put it up here. Okay, and also we can use that with this CSS here. So let's do body, and I'm going to set the height, let's say height into 100 view height, and also I'm gonna set the background into, let's say, F4, and I'm gonna say display flex, let's say align item center, justify content to center, and also the font family is gonna be Roboto sans serif. Okay, if I save and let's take a look, this is what we have. Okay, nice. So now let's grab the wrapper class, and let's give a background to, and I'm gonna say F6, F8, F9. right, and also I'm gonna set the width into, let's say, 20 rem, and I'm gonna give a padding to, let's say, 2 rem, and also let's say the margin top, let's give a 4 rem, and I'm gonna say border radius, let's give a 1 rem. Okay, so if I save and let's take a look, this is what we have. Okay, you can see that. If you cannot see, maybe I change the background to red, and this is what we have. Okay, but let's make it white again, and I'm going to add the box shadow. To create the beautiful shadow, I go to box-shadow.dev, and you can just play around with this value, and you can show the code and just copy this. All right, just copy this and paste that in here. All right, you can do like so. So now let's take a look. Here we go. All right, it's beautiful. So now let's create the screen component. So let's go back to components folder, and I'm going to create file called screen.js file, and in here I'm going to say rfce, and I'm going to add the class name called screen, and also in here let's just put random number here. Okay, so let's import the screen into app.js. Let's do here, I'm going to say screen like that. Just make sure we import up here. So let's say import screen from component screen. Okay, so now we should see this number. So now let's styling the number. So let's go to index CSS here, and I'm going to grab the screen class. Let's set the height into 4 rem, and also the margin bottom to 4 rem as well. Okay, so now save and let's take a look. This is what we have. Okay, so now what we need to do is create another component. So now I'm going to call that, let's say, ButtonBox. So let's say ButtonBox.js file, and also I'm going to create a just button. Okay, let's say button.js file. So let's go to ButtonBox, and I'm going to say rfce, and let's do that. And also in button we are going to say rfce. Okay, so let's go back to the app.js, and in here we need to remove this h1, and I'm going to copy and paste my button values variable, which is array here. Okay, as you can see we have this array, and also here I'm going to render the button box. All right, and also we need to just make sure we import up here. So let's say import button box from, let's say, ./component/button box. Right, and also we need to import the just button. All right, let's remove this box, and inside this button box we need to map through this button values array. So we can say button values dot, I'm going to use flat first, and then after I do flat I need to say map. All right, if I say map and I grab the button and I grab the index. All right, and also in here I'm going to return the individual button like that. All right, so in this button we need to send the value so that equals to btn, and also the key so that equals to the index. All right, so now let's go back to button box. This button box here, we need to grab the children. Okay, we can say children, and also we need to render the children inside this div. Say children, and also in this div I'm going to add class name set equals to, let's give a name button box. Okay, and also let's go back to button, and I'm going to grab the value. Okay, because we send the value, right? You can say value, and in here instead of div I'm going to render just button. Okay, and also in here I'm going to put the value. So now if I save and let's take a look, this is what we have. Okay, we have c plus minus % all this value. All right, nice. So now let's give a class name in this button. So I'm going to say class name set equals to, let's say, button. Okay, so now let's styling the button here. I'm going to go back to index CSS, and in here I'm going to grab the button box. Okay, so in this button box I need to set the display into grid. Okay, and also I'm gonna set the grid template columns into, let's say, repeat, and I'm gonna say 4 column. Okay, and let's say 1 fraction. If I do this, and as you can see here we have 4 column. Okay, nice. And also I'm going to give a gap. Let's say gap between the button here. I'm gonna say 0.5 rem. As you can see, nice. So now let's grab the button class. So in here I'm going to change the background into, let's say, E9 F0 F4, And also I'm going to set the height into, let's say, 3.5 rem. And also the padding, I'm gonna set that to 10 pixel. Let's also change the border radius to 10 pixel. And I'm going to set the display to flex because I'm going to put the text into the center. So I'm gonna say display flex, align item center, and justify content center. Okay. And also the, let's say, cursor, to just make sure the cursor is going to be pointer. And also the, let's say, the color, I'm going to change the color into, just say, 242424. And also the border, I'm gonna set that to none. Okay. And also the font size 1.5 rem. Okay, so if I save and let's take a look, as you can see, really cool. So now let's add the hover effect in this button here. So let's go to the CSS, and I'm going to grab the button and let's say hover. And in here, I'm gonna say border, let's say 2 pixel, let's say dotted, and also the color is going to be 242424. Okay, so now if I hover, as you can see, nice. If we take a look in the final project, as you can see here, we have different color in this operation and also in this equals here, right? So now we need to just give a styling for now. I want to say equals, all right? And in here, I'm going to change the background into for BD086, which is green color, and also the grid column, I'm going to say 3 and then 5. Okay, so what it means is 3 and then 5, as you can see here, to start from 1. All right, this is 1, the 2, and then 3, start from here, and then 4 and then 5. Okay, start from 3 until 5. All right, and also I'm going to add another class here called OPT, which is operation, and I'm going to change the background into, let's say, F79505. all right, and now let's go back to button here, and in this class name, I'm going to remove this button, and then I'm going to say a backtick here, and let's say, and I'm going to create a function called get style name, right? And I'm going to send the value in here, and also I'm going to put the button class. So now let's create this get style name function. I'm going to create outside the function component. So in here, I want to say const get style name set equals to, we grab the name come from the props, and then in here I'm going to create variable called, let's say, class name set equals to, it's gonna be object, and if we have equals, I need to add equals. All right, like that. If we have for example x, maybe, yeah, x, we need to use let's say OPT. all right, and also we can just copy and paste this couple times, because this is gonna be the minus, let's say, plus, and also the divided here. Okay, and I think it's gonna be btn, and down here we need to return the class name and then the btn. all right, so for example, the btn here have a value, for example, equals, so we have this class name equals. all right, the class name here is going to be equals and then button. all right, so if I save this, and as you can see, here we go, nice. As you can see, we have different color, really cool. So now let's create the context API. So let's go to the source here. I'm going to create a folder called context. Let's say context, and then inside this context folder, let's create a file called CalcContext. all right, .js, and then in here I'm going to say rrfce, and let's change this name into, let's say, calc provider. And up here, I'm going to create variable, but I'm going to export the variable. Let's say calc context set equals to create context. Okay, it's gonna be come from React. And then in here, what I'm going to do is I want to say CalcContext dot provider, and I'm going to wrap the children. So we need to grab the children come from here, right? So let's say children like so, and we need to put the children inside this provider here. So let's do children like so. So in here, I'm going to create a state, right? So let's do cons. I'm going to give a name calc and set calc. Set equals to use state. By default, is going to be object here. And I'm going to create a sign. And this is going to be empty string. And also, let's say number. I'm going to say 0. And also res, I'm going to say 0 as well. So in here, I'm going to create variable called, let's say, provider value. Set equals to object here, and I'm going to say calc. Set equals to calc, and also set calc. Set equals to set calc. Okay, we need to send this object here into this CalcContext provider, so we can say value. Set equals to provider value. Okay. So now we need to wrap our app.js here with this calc provider. So let's go to app here, and I'm going to put my calc provider here. Okay, just make sure we import from CalcContext. All right, all these components inside this calc provider will be available to access this context here. Okay, this value here, this calc and this function. So now let's go to the screen component, and in here I'm going to say cons. I'm going to grab the calc. You can also grab the set calc function in here, and I'm going to say set equals to use context. It's come from React, and also I'm going to put the calc context here. Okay, the calc context from the context / calc context. All right. So in here, I can grab the calc.num, calc.sign, and calc.number. Let's see. Where's my here? Okay, we can grab the calc.sign, calc.num, or calc.res. So in here, instead of using div, I'm gonna use TextFit. So let's search for TextFit. All right, so TextFit is basically just a package, right? It's pretty easy to use that. So the first thing is let's just install that first. So I'm going to paste that in here and hit enter. All right, so it's done. Now let's start the app again. Let's say yarn start. To use the React text field, it's really simple. As you can see here, you can just import the text field like so, and then we use text field and then put the long number inside in here. Okay, so let's just copy this and go to the screen component, and I'm going to paste that in here and change this div into TextFit. All right, let's do like so. All right, now let's save and let's take a look. As you can see, it's really bigger number, but if I add long number like that, and if I save, and as you can see, it's small right now. Okay, it's pretty cool. So instead of just a number here, we need to put the number come from the calc here. So the first thing is we need to check. I'm going to use ternary operation. If the calc.num is axis, I'm going to use calc.num. Okay, but else I'm going to use calc.res. All right. So if I save, it's going to be 0. All right. And what else? Next thing is we need to put the maximal number here. I'm going to put 70. Let's say maximal to 70. All right. Now save, and let's put the mode. I'm going to set it to, let's say, single. All right. Save, and it's more bigger. And yeah, it's not working, of course. But if I change the calc context here to another number, let's say this number here, if I save, as you can see, it's showing in here. Okay, pretty nice. So next, let's go to the button component here. But I'm going to close all these components, this CSS, this context, and this screen. Okay. So in here, I'm going to add onClick event. So let's say onClick set equals to, let's say handle button click, button, let's say click. All right. And let's create the function. I'm going to create the function up here. So let's say const handle button click set equals to arrow function. And in here, I'm going to console log the btn first. Okay. Why this is, yeah, of course we need to put this function inside the button component, not inside this function. Let's put that in here. Let's say handle button click, and we need to put value here like that. So now let's open the console. That's this console here, and if I click C, we have C 7 7 8 9 etc. Okay, so now let's go back to button component here, and in here I'm going to create variable called result. All right, so it equals to, it's going to be object, and we are going to use object literals like we did it in here. Okay, so in here we need to check if the value is dot, which is comma. I'm going to run the function called comma click. All right, and then down here I'm going to return result and then the value like so. All right, and of course we need to invoke the function, which is we need to run the function. All right, like that. So now we need to create this function. I'm going to create outside this handle button click function. I'm going to create up here. Okay, let's give a comment here. I'm going to say user click comma, and let's say const comma click set equals to arrow function here. All right, so and in here what I'm going to do is, the first thing we need to grab the set calc come from context. So let's do it here. Let's say const, we need to grab the calc, not calc but set calc. Okay, it's going to be come from use context, come from React, and also we need to put the CalcContext here. All right, I don't get the auto import, but I think we can just typing up here. Let's say import CalcContext is going to be from dot slash context slash CalcContext. All right, so now if I just console log the set calc to see that this is work, we should see this function here. All right, cool. So now what we need to do is inside this function here, we need to say set calc. All right, going to be object here, and inside in here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab all the calc value. Let's grab the calc first here. Let's say calc. All right, and I'm gonna say num to I don't know, let's say 29 just for example. So let's save and see if I click comma here, we get 29. All right, it's working. So we don't need this 29. Of course, what we need to do in here is we need to check, okay, if the calc dot number dot, we need to first change that to string. Okay, and let's say includes dot. All right, we need to say calc dot num. I'm going to add the value, which is the dot here, or else I'm going to say calc dot number. Okay, as you can see here, if there's no dot in this here, okay, we need to add dot in here. Okay, just comma. But if we have one dot in here, for example 2.9, you don't need to add another comma. All right, so I can put calc dot number here. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So now it's save and it's gonna be work. Next, let's add another condition here. Let's say C, and the function name is going to be, let's say reset click, and let's create the reset click function. I'm gonna do here, let's give a comment user click C, and let's say const reset click set equals to arrow function, and in here I'm going to set the calc. All right, and I'm going to set the sign in into empty string, and also the number is going to be empty string, not empty string but 0, and also the rest, let's put the 0 as well. Okay, so now I think I'm going to comment this just to make sure the reset is work. I'm going to change the number to 89, and if I click, let's say comma here, we get 89, but if I click C, it's reset the value. Okay, it's work. Let's make it back to this value here. Okay, cool. Let's handle the number 0 until 9, right? 0, 1, 2, 3 until 9. And what we need to do here is we need to add condition first. So if, all right, so if the result and value is not undefined, okay, which is the result of value is not undefined, we need to run the function here. But else I need to run function call handle click button. Okay, so let's create this function. I'm going to create outside this handle button click. So here let's make a comment user click number. Okay, so here I'm going to say const handle click button. Okay, let's say arrow function here, and in here what I'm going to do, let's first change the value into string. So I want to say number string set equals to, let's say value dot to string. Okay, and here I'm going to say let number value. Okay, and down here I'm going to say set calc into, I'm going to grab the previous value inside the calc. All right, and also here I'm going to say num into number value. All right, but in here what I'm going to do is let's check. Okay, I'm going to use if here. So here I'm going to check if the number string is equals to 0. All right, and the calc num is equals to 0. Okay, what I'm going to do is let's say number value set it equals to 0. Okay, but else I'm going to say number value set it equals to, I'm going to say number here. Okay, just make sure this is going to be number, and I'm going to put the calc dot num going to increment by number string. All right, so let's see here, if the number string is 0 and the calc num is 0, we need to set the number value to 0, because here if I have 0, when I click 0 again, we don't need to showing 0 and 0 and 0 0. All right, we need to just 0 is one time. Okay, when the first is 0. All right, and then here else we need to set the number value into calc number plus number string. Okay, if we have 8 first, and then if I click 5, we get 8 and then 5. All right, so I hope that makes sense. So now let's save it and let's see what we have. So now if I click 7, we get 7. If I click 5, 7, 5, 6, 9, 8, etc. Okay, if I click reset, it's going to be 0. If I click 0, 0, 0, we still get 0. Okay, it's working. Cool. So next let's handle this operation here, and I'm going to add another condition here. So let's say for example divided here. Okay, and the function name, let's say sign click. All right, let's say click, and I'm going to copy this and paste that a couple times, and it's gonna be x and also minus and also plus here. Okay, so let's create the sign click function, and I'm going to create here. So let's say user click operation. Okay, so let's say const sign click set equals to arrow function here. So in here, I'm going to say set calc into, let's put object here, and the sign is going to be the value, which is plus, minus, etc. And also the rest is going to be, let's check, if the calc dot response is a 0 and the calc dot num is have a value, we need to use calc dot num, or else we need to use the calc dot res. Okay, and down here, let's say number into, I'm gonna say 0. All right, so next I'm going to handle the equals when user click this equals here, right? So let's do here, I want to say equals, and then here let's say equals click. All right, so let's create this function, and I'm gonna do here, let's say user click equals, okay, let's say cons user click equals click, and then set it equals to. So in here I'm going to set the calc into, let's put object here, and the rest is going to be, I'm going to create a function called math, and I'm going to send the calc dot res and calc dot number and also calc dot sign. Okay, down here I'm going to say sign into empty string and also the number into 0. Okay, and let's create this math function. Okay, let's do here, I'm going to say cons math set equals to, we grab the value here, which is a, b, and let's say sign. Okay, and let's say arrow function here. So in here I'm going to use object literals again, so let's say cons result. Okay, result, and set that equals to is going to be object, and in here I'm going to check if the sign is going to be plus. I'm going to use let's say arrow function here. Okay, and I'm going to say, let's grab the a and b first, a and b, and then in here I'm going to do a plus b. All right, let's copy this and paste that. This is going to be let's say minus, and then a minus b, and we also get times here. Okay, this is going to be a multiplied by b, but we get something wrong here. Of course, we need to use star like that. And also here we have the divided operation, and we can use the divided operation in here. And down here, let's say result, and we grab the sign in, and then in here we paste the prop, which is a and b. Okay, but as you can see here, we need to add comma here, and as you can see in the final project here, if I click 9 and then equals, I don't need to run the function here. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to add condition here. So if, all right, let's say if the calc dot res have a value and also the calc dot num is not 0, I need to run this math function. Okay, let's put up here and let's save. So now what is this? Math is not defined. Yeah, that's because we need to put the set calc here inside the condition like that. Okay, so now save, and let's take a look here. If I say 9 plus 3 is going to be empty here, nothing happened. What's wrong? Yeah, there's because in here we don't return anything. So let's put return and save, and let's take a look again. Let's refresh. Let's say 9 minus 1 is gonna be 8. All right, it's working. If I click C, it's reset. 6 times 3 is going to be 18. All right, it's working. Cool. So another thing is we are going to handle the percent here. Okay, if I click 9%, we get a value. So let's do here, I want to say let's check for percent. Where's my percent? Right here. And also here I'm gonna say percent click. Okay, so let's create the percent click function. So here I'm going to create a command first, user click percent. Okay, so let's say cons %click set equals to arrow function. And what I'm going to do here, let's say set calc, set into object here, and I'm going to say the number is going to be, let's say calc dot number, and I'm going to divide it by 100. Okay, and also down here I'm going to say res, and let's say calc, okay, dot res, going to divide it by 100 as well. Let's say it's going to be calc, and down here the sign is going to be empty string. Okay, so if I save and let's click, if I refresh, let's say 6% is going to be 0.06. Okay, 10% is going to be 0.1. Okay, cool. So next, let's working with the plus minus here. Okay, so let's scroll down, and in here, let's say plus minus, and then in here, I'm going to say invert a click. Okay, so let's create the invert click function. I'm going to do here, let's say user click invert button. Okay, let's say const user invert click set equals to arrow function, and what I want to do here is, let's say set calc into, let's say num, let's say calc dot num into, if the calc dot num have a value, let's say calc dot num, I'm going to times by -1, or else I'm going to say 0. Okay, so here I'm going to paste that. It's going to be a response. Okay, if the calc response have a value which is not 0, we need to say calc response times by -1, or else we need to say 0. Okay, and in here I'm going to do sign into empty a string. So now when I save and let's take a look, if I do 5 plus minus plus minus. Okay, cool. Let's say 10.5 plus 6 is going to be 16.5. Yeah, I think we're done with this simple project, guys. Hope you learned something new in this project, and yeah, see you in the next video, and bye.